In 2011, Bethesda would come out with one of the best fantasy games ever made. They would sell over 3.4 million copies over the first 48 hours this game was released. And when I first played through Skyrim, oh, it was like no other experience that I had had up to that point. The way I could navigate this world and go wherever I wanted was something that I just hadn't experienced yet in a game before. And so like many other people, I played the crap out of Skyrim until there was literally nothing left to explore, nothing left to do, and I had a great time with it. But here's the thing. Bethesda saw all that success and thought, instead of releasing a new game, why don't we just re-release Skyrim every time anything happens ever? And that's what they did. And you want to know what? I'm sick of playing Skyrim over and over and over again. I want something new, something fresh, something a little darker, and you know what? Combat that's actually fun to play with. Wait, what's that noise? Do you guys hear that? What you just saw was Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. This is a first-person dark fantasy RPG where you roam the lands of Avalon, completing not only the main story, but side missions that are equally, if not more interesting than the main story. In this game, you play as a Red Death plague victim who is saved by a stranger. After being saved, you stumble upon this weird wreckage ruin thing that once touched transports you to this weird ethereal world, where you meet a spirit who you don't know who it is at first, but you come to find out that it's actually the soul of King Arthur. He doesn't remember much of anything because his soul is split into different fragments, and so what ends up happening is he is bound to you, and your goal is to go throughout the land of Avalon and find fragments of his soul to restore King Arthur to his former glory. But you want to know what? Roaming the lands of Avalon is not as simple as you might think, especially if you choose the hardest difficulty and you're trying to get after it at a lower level. Here's a little look at how that experience has been. No, come on. That last death is one of my favorites because literally this ogre hit my feet and I flipped upside down and then the game over screen came up. So good. So as you can see, the Kingdom of Avalon is not a place that is safe for anyone. But you want to know something? It definitely has all the loot that you could ever want in your whole entire life, and the armor sets are fire. And this segues perfectly into the thing I want to talk about right now, the world of Avalon and all the things that you can do in it. Similar to the way that you feel in Skyrim, when you're running around the world, you kind of like see points of interest off in the distance, and your curiosity bug as a player just goes crazy. And the same thing happens here in Tainted Grail. There has been so many times where I've like pinned an objective, looked off into the distance and seen a thing, and I went, what main objective? I gotta go look at whatever the heck that is. And then I proceed to book it into some cave or some castle just to scratch that itch of exploration that I was looking for. And here's the thing, when it comes to the exploration in this game, every single cave, and I found like 5 or 6 caves at this point, every single one of them has been a unique level design layout. And if you're someone who plays a lot of games that are like Skyrim, then you know that this usually is not the case in games like this. Usually assets are reused, but the thing is these developers took the time to build unique environments in each of these cave systems just to make it so you have a truly unique experience going into this world, and you have this feeling that you want to explore and you want to see more, and that's freaking awesome. So as you can tell, there's a lot of stuff going on in this game, from various different enemies to fight throughout the region, and also finding caves and finding castles and all the fun things that come with a game that's trying to be like Skyrim. And while I'm saying that it's trying to be like Skyrim, I don't mean it's literally verbatim trying to be exactly what Skyrim is, but it's trying to capture the magical feeling that you got the first time that you went and you explored all of the land of Skyrim. And I'm going to say it, I think that they nailed that feeling. And not only did they nail that feeling, but I think they did some things even better than Skyrim ever could. And those things are the dark tone of the story and the way that the world is presented to the player, and also the combat. Let's start with this dark tone that I'm talking about. Tainted Grail leans hard into dark fantasy. And what I mean by this is, yeah, there's places where Avalon is warm and welcoming, but for every one warm and welcoming place, there's 3 dark, horrible places just waiting for you in the world. An example of one of these nice and cozy areas is the Horns of the South castle that's in the first area. This is essentially the main hub housing all the vendors such as blacksmiths and bounty boards and all that fun stuff. And then you walk like 10 feet out of this castle and you got monsters running around, you got villagers who are low-key like sacrificing some troll in the middle of their village, and so it just ends up being like this dark, horrible place that you walk 10 feet from the happy place and you're like, oh my gosh, this is literally insane. And then comes the nighttime where this huge fog comes rolling in and essentially turns this game into a horror game. This fog is called the weirdness. And the way it changes up the gameplay is essentially it makes it so you can't see within like 20 feet of you. And then there's these like mystical weird wraith things that pop up. And I don't know what they are, but essentially they start attacking you in droves. They are everywhere going crazy and they just keep coming and keep coming. So you're just constantly like on the run trying not to die from these things when you're out at night. And it's just terrifying. And on top of that, they have like a night variant of these wraiths that come out at night, and this thing one-shots me every freaking time I see it. So I just run my butt off when I see these guys. But not only do these new enemies spawn in when the nighttime comes, but the enemies that exist in the world that aren't inside of protective barriers essentially become taken over by the weirdness and become stronger, faster, and harder hitting. And honestly, I love that this game has so much going on when it comes to just being out and exploring the world, and it just makes for this dark fantasy adventure that you're like, hell yeah, let's fucking go. I'm ready to take on this adventure. And so now I hope that you really get a good understanding of how this dark fantasy adventure of Avalon is just one of those ones that kind of stands out in the Skyrim likes. And I think one of the biggest things that makes this game stand out is the combat. If you're like me and you played Skyrim a good amount of times, then you would understand and have this feeling with me that the combat is very much lacking in that game. It just doesn't have any impact. It feels like you're slashing at paper, and so you don't ever get that true feeling of like visceral combat where you're hitting people and it's actually affecting them or anything like that. But here in Tainted Grail, that is not the case at all. The combat here feels more like a Souls-like than anything. And what I mean by this is in this combat, you have the ability to dodge, you have the ability to parry, you have the ability to do heavy attacks and light attacks. And I know when it comes to heavy attacks and light attacks, you can do that in Skyrim. But the thing is you can't dodge, you don't see the enemy reacting to the way that you're hitting them or anything like that. And then another thing that they added in Tainted Grail's combat is they added a stamina bar for the enemies that if you get their stamina all the way down, they become stunned. And I know there's some of you out there that are going to say, it doesn't really matter. Like, if they become stunned, like, who cares? And what I say to you is this gives us options in the combat that are different than what other people might want to do. So if you want to be a parrying god that just whittles down the stamina bar and then attacks only when they're stunned, go for it. If you're somebody who just wants to be so powerful that you one-shot every enemy, you can do that too. And on top of the melee combat, you have the magic and all these different spells that you can interact with and put on your build and just kind of like make this god of a wizard. And if all of these things sounded nice to you, well, then you can do all of them. You can have all these weapons equipped to your character and you can swap between them on the fly, because Tainted Grail has a loadout system that you can use that just swaps between different weapons and different spells and different things like that, and it just makes for a really good variety of gameplay that you got going on. now we've come to the end of the video where you decide for yourself whether or not this is a game for you. When it comes to my recommendation, I know that this game is not perfect. It has bugs, and the combat kind of becomes a little bit stale later on because you become literally so powerful that you're one-shotting enemies left and right. But for this developer to come out swinging for the fences and almost getting there is literally something that should be celebrated in the gaming community. And I think Bethesda should be scared because this team nailed the formula and they almost nailed it all the way to perfection. Given a chance to make a sequel of Tainted Grail, I think that they would completely knock it out of the park. And the whole time I've been playing it, I've had a hell of a good time. I've become immersed in the world, in the story, in the side characters, in all of the characters. And so my recommendation is you should purchase this game. I know it has a DLC that is supposedly even better than the base game, but I've had a hell of a good time with the base game. And so if you're looking for a game to adventure like you did back in the days of Skyrim, this is a game that should definitely be at the top of your list to get. Hope I see you in the lands of Avalon.